Hello, everybody. My name is Dredd. This is Miss Valley Gaming, also called Miss Valley Arts and Entertainment. We cover more than just gaming, and welcome to Sports Talk with Dredd. As you can see by the lovely photo here and the words on the screen, today I want to talk about Jake Virtanen. I haven't talked about this subject yet. I'm loath to bring up a lot of controversial things at times, but at times I feel a need to speak. I need to be heard on something important. As you may or may not know, Jake Virtanen is a professional hockey player. He's a young man. I think he's 24 years of age. He was drafted by the Vancouver Canucks in the National Hockey League. He went on to play with them for a few years. He had an incident, and the incident involved a young lady, 18 years old, I believe, at the time, who he had met a couple years earlier. And the story goes, he met her at the Calgary Stampede. He was extremely intoxicated. Maybe a young man who has some drinking problems. I don't know, or perhaps at least did, or maybe he was just enjoying a very fine night of the Calgary Stampede and had enjoyed a bit too much. He was very ill, and this young woman, I think at the time, was only 16, maybe 17. I don't know. She and her friend, she took a shining to him and really kind of helped him out when he was pretty sick with the alcohol. Um, they kept in touch, and when she was 18, she traveled to Vancouver and met him in his hotel room where he was staying, and they had sexual relations. Apparently, what I'm going to surmise out of this is no relationship followed that, or not much of one if there was one, or a very short one. I'm not clear on all the details. I didn't actually follow the court case, and the court case is upcoming to this. The lady later, and I don't remember how much later, but later on, accused Mr. Jake Virtanen of the R word that starts with an R and ends in another word for monkey. If this actually happened the way that she says it did, she said no, he didn't listen. That's a devastating thing for a young woman. I'm not a woman, but I can empathize as much as I can and say yes, that's a terrible thing to happen. Okay, that is plain and simple, terrible. All right. However, if there's any way that that's not what happened, or not clearly what happened, or I don't know, the woman's memories have been altered by her feelings over time, or God forbid, she's after money, popularity, or just mad at him. And so this comes up as a court case, then that's a terrible thing for Mr. Virtanen. Now, both of them end up in court over this. I believe the court was in Vancouver, right? Meantime, Mr. Virtanen ends up playing overseas in the Russian Hockey League, the KHL. The Vancouver Canucks released him from his contract. He went from a promising player to a player after the woman came out and kind of, I imagine he knew about it, and before it became public, he had a very tough year. The next year in Vancouver, didn't play as well. And then the team released him, cut him from his contract, said, whoa, you're being charged with what? Whoa. And they backed away from him. They have a right to do that. They have a right. Not blaming Vancouver Canucks at all. They backed away. They cut off his contract. He couldn't catch on with anybody, so he went and played overseas. Overseas in Russia, tough league. By all accounts, he didn't have the greatest time over there either. He was a man dealing with a lot. Okay? Whether he's guilty or innocent or somewhere in between, he still has a court case against him. He has a sullied name, and he has a lot on his mind and on his shoulders. Definitely that would affect his hockey. Definitely that would affect all of his life, I would think, unless he's a person without compassion and without care in the world. Right? I don't think he's that person. I think, like everybody, he makes mistakes. Whether or not he made a mistake in this case, I don't know. But he clearly has made some mistakes in life, as we all have. Court case came and went. He was found not guilty. Okay. Now, I believe she has also launched civil suit against him, which means she's now going to try to get money out of him for what she says he did. Okay. But in the court case, the judge found him not guilty. There was not enough evidence. I believe it was basically he said, she said, right? There was no evidence, or not enough, or not any. I don't know. Again, I didn't follow the court case. Whatever there wasn't enough of to convict him or say he did what she said he did. That was it. Gavel down. He's free to go. He's a free man. Ken Holland and the Edmonton Oilers. Ken Holland being the Edmonton Oilers GM. Both are quite familiar with offering second chances to others. Ken Holland's done it in his career with Detroit. The Edmonton Oilers have done it in their careers with people like Zach Kassian, with people like Craig McTavish, who, no offense to Craig, I don't mean to have to bring up any bad news for Mr. McTavish, but beloved figure in Edmonton, but he got drunk and killed somebody with his car, okay? That's actually something he's guilty of. Mr. Kassian had some problems, including alcohol, and it resulted in him getting released by the Montreal Canadiens, and Edmonton snagged him up, and they obviously provided a good enough care for him here, and he took things seriously enough that he cleaned up his life and had a few good years here, and then has now moved on. Now we get to this. So the Edmonton Oilers decide we're going to offer Jake Virtanen a PTO. He's going to come to training camp on a tryout, professional tryout contract, which means I would imagine nobody gets paid in training camp. So it's a professional tryout contract, but I mean, it's a contract where we're just saying you can come to camp, we'll allow you to, and you can try to earn yourself a contract with this team or another team that sees how you're doing in the preseason here and with us and decides to offer you a contract. It's up to anybody can offer you one, but we're here to give you the chance to compete with our players and try to do well. Okay, that's it. Now, people have jumped all over this in the internet. They have said what a horrible, horrible idea this is. They have virtue signaled and said what a black name this is on the Edmonton Oilers for doing this. All right, they have said he's a guilty person. He's a terrible person, Jake Virtanen. How could they bring in Jake Virtanen? He's a terrible hockey player. Look at his stats the last 2 years. And to which I say he's had a lot more in his life to worry about than hockey. He's just tried to hold down a job to make some money. He's had a lot more on his plate than hockey, people. Again, not saying I know if he's guilty or I know if he's innocent. What I do know is the courts say he's not guilty. Okay? People have said, well, the courts are crooked. Of course he gets off because he's a man and women don't get a fair shake. Really? Is that the way we're going to play it? Is that the way we're going to play this? I think not. Okay, folks, now we're going to get to why I decided to post this video and talk about this, okay? We're going to pick up this article written September 29th, 2022 by the Superfan at the superfan.ca here that I got off of Oilers Nation. This is by Sunil Agnihotri. Best I could do. Sorry, Sunil. I am not meaning to just pick on Sunil, but this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Let's talk about this. Let's go over this article. I will link this down below as well. And let's have a look at what is written here, okay? So here we go. Having faith in the justice system. Sunil says, as much as I'd like to write about the upcoming season, I'm still processing the fact that the Oilers brought in a guy who was accused of sexual assault and is still facing a civil suit. Ahead of such a promising season where the Oilers have a competitive roster, featuring two of the best players in the world, Oilers chose to bring in a lot of unnecessary noise. Not only have the Oilers continued to demonstrate that they really don't care about the public's perception of their actions and their corporate values, it's also clear that they're still struggling to evaluate their roster situation and assess professional level players. PTOs are a great way to bring in undervalued assets who can create legitimate competition in camp. Adding Virtanen doesn't provide any on ice solutions or improve the chances of the Oilers winning a cup. All it's really done so far is expose the Oilers' lack of social awareness, overshadow a lot of the positive stories coming out of training camp this season, and have fans question if supporting this team with their time and money is really worth it. And that's really bothered me since Virtanen joined the Oilers camp, is how the Oilers are trying to justify it all, with Ken Holland specifically pointing to his faith in the legal system. And a quote from Ken Holland: "Most important thing is he went through the legal system. He went to a court of law. A jury found him not guilty," Holland explained to reporters. "The biggest thing for me is to have faith in the legal system. If we lose faith in the legal system, I don't think it's a good thing. I'm trusting the legal system to offer a pro tryout, and now over 2 weeks, we will evaluate him. If he's not good enough from a hockey standpoint, we'll release him." Sunil goes on: "What these comments really demonstrate is an organization's lack of awareness regarding the current justice system, the different experiences people have had with the system, and the flaws that governments are trying to improve on. There are worldwide music movements as a result of the justice system, including Black Lives Matter, which are focusing more attention on the systemic issues and demanding change." Sunil, didn't the people who organize Black Lives Matter all go out and buy themselves $1 million mansions with the money they raised and then basically fuck off and not do anything for the black people after? You don't mention that part. Provincial Court of Alberta recently developed a justice strategy to better meet the needs of Indigenous people. Okay, so far we're talking about Jake Virtanen, who's not black, who's not Indigenous. Federal government in Canada has an initiative underway to enhance the criminal justice system, recognizing system delays and inefficiencies. Well, it was only like less than 2 years since she charged them before I went to court. That's actually pretty good. The overrepresentation of Indigenous people as offenders and victims. I have a problem with the words overrepresentation. You're telling me the same percentage of all different races should be in prison? Are we going to say, okay, you can't go to prison because we need some more white people in prison right now, so you just go free? Like, that's kind of dumb. Isn't it, Sunil? Isn't that dumb? The lack of support for vulnerable populations and the low rate of sexual assault reporting. Despite all this, the general manager of Edmonton Oilers is pointing to his faith in the justice system to justify adding a player, disregarding the negative experiences people have had with the justice system, especially women, Indigenous communities, and people of color. "We know the justice system tends to serve those with power and privilege." Jake Virtanen has power and privilege right now? He's only earned what? Well, maybe $2.5 million in salary. He probably didn't earn that much in the KHL. Right now, he's earning nothing. He's had his career taken away from him. He's a young man who's been crushed with nothing and has been found not guilty. And somehow Jake Virtanen has power and privilege? It's clear the Oilers' front office, especially those who made the decision to add Virtanen, are in that group. Oh, so the Oilers are at fault for all of the things you've mentioned above. Oh, of course. The court system is the Oilers' fault. Oh, Sunil, you're so smart. You go to college? 'Cause I didn't go to college. You must be smarter than me. Well, no, that's not true. I went to Bible college, but, that probably doesn't count to you. Because that's God, and God's bad, right? So that's what Sunil wrote. Look, this is a stupid thing to write. First of all, it's a stupid thing to call a sports article. It's a stupid thing to have on a sports site. Okay? It's just stupid. It's altogether stupid and ridiculous and redonkulous and asinine and stupid. Have I stated that clearly enough? Okay? It doesn't make any sense. In fact, listen to what people down below have commented. And I haven't commented on this, but others have. Cody says, I disagree completely. Do we really want employers to act as judge and jury on unfounded accusations and rumors? Unfounded because he was found, I repeat, not guilty. But somehow, Sunil, that's not good enough for Sunil. He demands justice. He demands justice for the women and for the colors and for anyone else. But what if justice is Jake Virtanen is innocent, Sunil? What about that? What about the burden of proof is on the accuser? And if you go and accuse somebody of the R word, and I mean, look, it's not like she left his apartment and immediately trotted down to the medical clinic and said, check me out. I've just been UNO'd and we need all the evidence. Okay. And I understand not all women who this happened to are in that mind frame anyways to do that. But I'm saying she didn't do that. Okay. What she did is come forward later, months later, or whatever it was, and decide that she was going to charge him and do a civil suit. She had to have been told by her lawyers that the charging him was not going to do any good. Your word against his word, no proof. It was automatically known. That's going nowhere. That's going nowhere. You have no proof of what you're accusing him of. That's getting thrown out. The judge is going to look at that and say, where is the proof? You don't have any. Her lawyers know that. That's why they told her to launch the civil suit. The idea is to drag him continually through the mud and try to get some friggin' money out of him. Does that mean she is a liar or she's wrong? Doesn't mean that. But do we know? I mean, Sunil demands justice for her. So he apparently knows. He was there. Sunil, why weren't you at court giving your evidence against Jake Virtanen? Because you are so sure he is guilty. Cody goes on to say, if he's innocent, he has went through a huge ordeal, had his character tarnished, will never be looked at or treated the same. Now to compound that, we want to add ending his career. Justice system is there for a reason. Person is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. There was obviously not enough evidence to find him guilty. To me, that means society should treat him as innocent. Barry replies to Cody, agreed. This article shows very little understanding of how our system works. It's a failure somewhere to educate people on basic civics. Jack says, in this article, Sunil, you haven't addressed any facts specific to Virtanen's being found not guilty in a court of law. Instead, you're attempting to ostracize and destroy a man purely based upon general narrative. This tells me you have no interest in due process and no interest in innocent until proven guilty, which are fundamental tenets of a just society. What you are doing is what was done in Salem during the witch hunts. Guilty until proven innocent, all in the name of virtue signaling your wokeness. How very millennial of you. This article is not a thoughtful take on the facts of the case, but rather a drive-by smear using generalizations about a person's race and gender. Also, your insinuation that Virtanen is still somehow guilty, despite being found not guilty in a court of law, borders on libel. Nick Sandman got millions from CNN when they falsely smeared him based upon woke narrative rather than facts. Are you prepared to pay Virtanen the same? Perhaps choose your words more carefully next time. And I appreciate these people are being reasonable in what they're saying to Sunil. They're not going after him. They're pointing out, dude, how could you be this wrong? Rick says, you know what's unjust? People judging people and subjecting them to harsh consequences based on rumor, innuendo, or the most popular tweet. It's happened to me and altered my life, not in a good way. Rick, you have my sympathy and my prayers. I hope that you might learn to do better. Glenn Scarlin says the wokeness of this article is astounding. No wonder this nation is so effed up. Joel says, essentially, you've just rendered this guy guilty by the court of public opinion. Do I think there are problems with sexual assaults in athletes? 100%, but this is not the way to prove it. Bringing corrupt and violent organizations like BLM into the conversation doesn't prove your point. Blah, 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 blah. We'll just move on from that so we don't get into too political stuff there. I don't want to get into other people's argument on BLM. I would rather argue my own points. So this person says, I'm a person of color. I understand what he's saying. How can you have faith in justice system that is broken, cause so much harm, people that don't need it? Documented all the cases. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Based on his hockey skill alone, he did not deserve a PTO. I disagree. A PTO is just come in and see if you got the skill or not. All right. You don't have to have the skill first. And he had the skill in the past. So look at his KHL numbers in the last season, the NHL, then you throw in the fact he had all these suits against him. Well, the suits against him probably had a lot to do with the numbers. So over the past several years, justice system has been proven to be a failure, and somehow that's wrong for Ken Holland then to do this. Failure, 100% ridiculous. Well, I disagree. The justice system is definitely not perfect. It is the best thing we've got. Court of public opinion and wokeness is going to fail much more often, and doesn't even care about facts, does it? So I'm pretty sure it's less than 30% of sexual assault cases actually go into charges. What does that have to do with Jake Virtanen? His case did go into charges, and he was found not guilty. Again, unless you have some evidence that you are secreting away somewhere that proves Jake Virtanen is guilty, he's innocent. Done. Viking Blood says he was found not guilty. Who cares if he's white, black, or blue? Sean Krebs, if he's found innocent by his peers in a court of law, that is the end of it. Period. Stick to hockey on ice stories and keep your lefty politics out of your commentary. This person says because they brought in Patrick Kane and he has issues in lawsuit involving women, that Holland, Nicholson, and Katz don't care about optics, only their own egos and money. Yeah, I don't know about that, dude. Everything I've heard about Patrick Kane or Evander Kane, excuse me, sorry, Patrick, like Patrick Kane is watching this. Everything I've heard about Evander Kane and women, what I've seen is his ex-wife is crazy and didn't even get custody of their child. Evander did. And Evander had his issues, and he still got custody of their child over her. I think you need to step back and look at that and realize maybe bitch was crazy. I'm just saying. So I'm not impressed with Sunil's crap that he wrote. It's a smear piece. It's got nothing to do with hockey. It's a smear piece. He needs to apologize to Jake Virtanen. He needs to apologize to the justice system. He's apologized to Ken Holland and the Edmonton Oilers. And you know what? If I'm the Oilers and I'm reading this article, if I'm Connor McDavid and I fucking read this article, I don't know whether Sunil has any access to the Oilers at all in his job, whatever it is, at his writings. But I would say he doesn't do any interviews. He doesn't get into the rink. He doesn't talk to anybody. Nobody talks to Sunil. He's out. He's out for that. Doesn't matter that Jake Virtanen is probably not going to make this team. The fact is, he attacked a player who's in here, trying out for our team, and he's attacked our management and our organization. We won't stand for that. That's what should be done. I think they probably won't do that, but I think they should. And again, this is not an attack on Sunil. I want to tell you, if you're not aware, the amount of authors who run down Ken Holland and run down the Oilers management and are now running down Jake Virtanen and have in the past run down Evander Kane, etc., 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 etc. The bunch of negative people in the press, most of them are internet press, around the in the circumference around the Edmonton Oilers is quite disgusting. It is quite fucking disgusting. These are people with no human compassion, no ability to think for themselves, and it's scary. It's scary what the world is becoming and what people are turning into. I wish Jake Virtanen the best. I hope he is innocent. He knows. He also knows. But he definitely knows whether or not he's actually innocent or actually not. I wish him the best. Either way, I hope he makes better choices in his life than he has. I hope he learns to treat people better than he has. I hope he hangs on to love that he finds and acceptance that he finds very, very tightly. Not smotheringly, but not taking it for granted. And I hope he becomes a better human being. I hope he has a long career in hockey, but if not, then I hope he manages to find another career that makes him happy as well and brings in the money he needs to survive. And I hope people like Sunil and many, many others leave him the fuck alone. Because I won't put up with this shit. I see too much of this, and the hair on my back stands up, and I stand up for people's rights. This kind of shit is wrong. Sunil, if you don't know better, you should. And I have nothing against you as a person. I don't know you as a person. I'm just saying your article and your attitudes displayed in here are shit. They are shit. And you have just followed along, just one up to what all your little people in the media are doing to Jake right now, and it's disgusting. It is just disgusting. People, Jake Virtanen, why the hate? That's what I want to know. This is Dredd from Miss Valley Gaming, also called Miss Valley Arts Entertainment. This is Sports Talk with Dredd, where apparently I spend a lot of time standing up for people who not many other people will stand up for. That's part of me. That's in my heart to do. So, Jake Virtanen, good luck, young man. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.